Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. Today we're gonna do a video in depth of Cardano, ADA. We have some liquidity pools that I wanna share with you, some news, on-chain data, and all the technicals that make you be subscribed to this channel. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. Make sure you don't miss the $3,000 claim that you can get from bluffing if you open an account. Whatever deposit you do, you get always a reward, but you have to use the link in the description. Of course, that helps the channel as well. I'm going to start the analysis on the weekly time frame. After the global breakout that we can see in here, we managed to make a revenge rally into the area of 60s on the RSI weekly. That got a big rejection, we could say, in this area, sending us back to global support, which was 43, 44 on the weekly RSI. Now that the weekly RSI is at support, we could be potentially looking into a full reset on weekly time frame that later we're gonna also discuss on the daily, because there is some convergence talking about a potential support holding for another wave to the upside. The setup I'm thinking is a potential move into resistance of potentially 65 RSI on the weekly, sitting around here, but for that we need to break beyond the level of 48 and definitely hold 45 to 44 as support. So let's translate those RSI levels now into price. We can see that that support comes in at 65 cents. The resistance that we need to break is to go beyond 72, which is probably the peak, the point of control around this area traded after the breakout from 33 cents all the way into 1.32. So right there in the middle, that's the level we need to conquer and turn it back into support. The specific target that we are talking about, that 65 on the RSI weekly, is around 1.14 on the weekly time frame. It doesn't look like the most incredible target. That's around a 2x or less from where we are. We are bouncing off the area of value of longs versus shorts. You can see that the most recent test that we did around this area was on 25th of September in 2023, and we are right there after bouncing off with some longs. So we could be in an equivalent area as early October. At that point, we attracted the most longs in all the cycle, and we went all the way to 85. That is the beginning of this rally that puts the price into 80 cents. Then we went sideways, and then we did achieve another wave to the upside. So not a bad place to be in here. Ideally, we want to hold that 31% of longs and start our journey into the 80s, assuming that the rest of the crypto market is also in a healthy state. As you can see Cardano in this area from the distance, we can see that we have highs, higher lows, higher highs, and even with this pinch in here, which went way beyond where it should, it actually affected all the markets, and we still don't take the lows of the double bottom formation at 52 cents. Now, we are kind of playing a little bit with fire in this area in here, and I really want to reclaim this 68 cents and come back and take the 72, which is the area of the breakout. Getting a rejection from 68 could bring this back down into 53 support, which has already been tested 3 times, and with the 4th time with the massive peak to the downside. If we go beyond those levels of support, we are also breaking down on the RSI, which is something that we do not want to do in these areas. Now let's go into the daily, because we are attempting a breakout from an RSI of 47. We have already formed higher lows in this area, and we are going for another attempt, just like we did 1, 2, 3, and this will be the 4th time. But there's something special, because this one is being done from reclaiming this support on a symmetrical triangle. So ideally we want to hold this level so we can start again to tackle the $1 liquidation from shorts, which they really had a win in here 3 times, and they managed to add to the short, and then they took all the way back down to 28. They must be really happy, but now it's time for them to start thinking on taking profits, and that is also going to attract the price. Of course, we need to break from the top of the symmetrical triangle on the daily, that's 86, but if we get a confirmed breakout in here on the momentum and we do a retest, potentially that's going to add more likelihood that the price can also achieve that, and you get the breakout on the daily to happen before the price does it against the trend line, which is something positive. Now we need to be on the lookout for a failure and do a double bottom, in which case we break out from lower. That is actually a better setup. So if you can hold on with some patience in there, assuming that we just continue in here and we do it from lower, that could also be a good setup. On the lower end, we do not have any liquidity, and really price needs to go below 27 cents to really damage anybody, because we just recently took everything to the lower end. If we focus on Cardano against all the other market of altcoins, we're gonna find it somewhere in here, very close to what XRP and DOT is currently showing as behavior. And this means that it's got a very similar amount of well versus retail, which is on the lower end relative to the middle line. So all of these coins in here have currently more wells positions, and ADA is still a bit heavy maybe on what it comes to retail. BTC is positioned very similarly to Cardano, to be honest, as well. And when it comes to the y-axis, we see that there is, just like in Bitcoin, a bit more of resistance of the ask versus the bid. And that is because both Bitcoin and ADA have taken a big move in the past few days. So BTC, you can see it there, it's got some decent orders defending the upside to continue to go beyond 116K. That's a resistance, and ADA probably is having the same effect. Let's go and see on-chain, because here is where I'm seeing some positive things. We got big well orders both on spot and on futures on this end in here. Big positions at lower levels of price. Could be that maybe during this move down in there, they were fishing for that opportunity and they are already allocated with big positions. So that is something positive, while at the same time we have a cooling signal both on futures and spot, meaning that we are not in a territory of an overheated. That is something that possibly we're going to start seeing if we get into $1 or over that level. Taker buy dominant means that this week people are buying expecting higher prices, and aggressive buyers are currently in play. When it comes to news, we have 3 news, a 7 out of 10 and 2 6 out of 10. The most bullish one, the one at the top, ADA eyes 30% upside on trendline break. Fresh TA signals are reversals towards 80 to $1 if ADA holds 70 cents, improves near-term momentum setup. On-chain, 2.1 thousand validators, 1.03 million net outflows. Strong decentralization is supportive, mild exchange outflows hint at accumulation, while price coils constructive by cautious. The 68 is a key resistance that we actually talk about. Interesting that other people are noticing it as well. It says that it opens the door for 75 cents. If we compare ADA against Ethereum, we are expecting to see Ethereum to take the lead in here before Cardano, but we are seeing in here that we are very low when it comes to momentum at the moment, and this is on the weekly basis. The Z-score is showing that we are in an area very low relative to the middle line, so this is an area where we should be looking into allocating on ADA rather than looking for any shorts, because there is more upside than downside from here. We could say MFI has also reset below the 10, and all of this is a consequence of this move down into lows, extreme lows, indeed the lowest level that it has ever achieved of ADA against Ethereum. Remember that we are looking in here at the ratios against Ethereum. We want to understand when is it going to be the time that ADA takes the lead and outperforms Ethereum. We should be expecting a little bit more of Ethereum outperforming ADA, just because there is that order of events expected according to past performance. But once it's the time for ADA to take over, we can see that we are already very oversold from many points of view, including the Z-score. I think there's still some upside for Ethereum to get into 5 to 6K and eventually find a new local top or a new cycle top. By that time, Cardano will have already started trying to claim from the very low levels in here some performance, maybe into resistance of 5 or 4 around those levels. Short-term liquidity, the 3 months shows a big bucket at $115, actually $1 to be more precise. And on the last 30 days, there is a big bucket at 61 cents, one at 64 and one at 66. On the upper end, the bigger one on the last 30 days is 73.8, followed by 69.5. As a very short summary, I remain biased towards a move into $1 into 1.2. That is a low hanging fruit. After that, we could do some price exploration beyond that. that I consider this breakout having some chances, assuming that Bitcoin also has a decent rally into new all-time highs. Maybe this one is going to break out in this way. If Bitcoin has some hiccups in the middle of the week, maybe Cardano is also going to pull around the support, but eventually I consider decent likelihood to getting into this area in here. Notice a few levels of Fibonacci that I forgot to mention. If we extend from here to this recent high and we take the liquidation week into 27 cents, we're going to see that a move into 76 cents that represents an extension of already one. That is because it went too low, and in order to get into the actual liquidations, we need to achieve a 1618, which for many setups that is already a lot. This means a total move up of 300% from the lows of the week to really achieve that, and 330 to achieve the second bucket. Personally, I still have one of the few bags that I have left over for this cycle is ADA and Chainlink, so I'm really looking forward to some profit taking in this area and maybe trailing to the upside the rest. That is my setup. I am not looking to allocating at this time in the market on Cardano, although this area looks sweet as support. This is not the time for me to really be buying Cardano. I'm more interested to sell whatever I manage to accumulate during the bear market at as high as possible, and that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching the video. Remember to hit the like, write down a comment down below with which coin would you like me to do a in-depth video like this one, and if you're not subscribed, come on, that's the next thing to do. Thanks so much. Bye bye.